Hello and good morning and welcome to the Football Terrace quick live stream for you this morning. I'm about to go to the airport. I've got to travel to one of my most favourite places in the world today actually. I've got to go to Dublin, and I wanted to speak a little bit about Bruno Fernandes this morning and the truth according to a number of media outlets surrounding his supposed move to Manchester United. Of course, we saw major developments in this last night, not through something the media have said or what an agent has said, but very much relating to the actions of Bruno Fernandes himself. And as ever, um, I want to gauge your viewpoints and opinions. And as a live chat has just said there from Billy T, that's kind of the main centering of this story. You know, the Daily Express have gone with this big headline of the truth behind Bruno Fernandes and his supposed medical at Manchester United. And yeah, they're pretty much alluding to the fact that Man United may not have ever been in for Bruno in the first place. But then last night we see something, a friendly game. Bruno Fernandes playing in a Sporting Lisbon shirt, and he comes off the pitch as a substitute and is crying his eyes out. Now, I want to pose this question to you all right now. Have you ever seen a football player crying his eyes out after a friendly game for any other reason than it's like a testimonial raising money for a charity that's very close to their heart? They've recently had a very close family member pass away, or they're leaving the football club. And I'm not into conspiracy theories or anything like that, but for me, there is no smoke without fire. Doesn't guarantee that he's going to Manchester United Football Club. That's something I will add and I will throw in now. Mr. Iqbal there saying he's coming to United, and he may be coming to Man United. Alpha here says he wasn't crying, it looks like he was wiping sweat away. And I get that. I do get that. That viewpoint and feeling. And I know people throw it out. There's also been a lot of talk about, he was crying because he knows he's got to go and play with Phil Jones and Chris Smalling. And I get the banter and I understand it. But at the end of the day, for me, he was crying his eyes out. It felt like it was his last game at the club. He clearly has an affinity and a great feeling towards the Sporting Lisbon as a club, the people he plays with, and of course the fans that absolutely adore him. I think a move is imminent for him as an individual. But we'll jump into this story in a bit more detail. Do me a big favour, please. Hit that like button for me. Please hit the share button as well. It's an amazing way and probably the best way that you can support us here. And a big shout out as well to the Football Terrace sponsors, the Football Index. Really overwhelmed with the amount of you that have signed up to accounts with the Football Index and are really getting involved. That's again another brilliant way that you can all support us. So a big shout out to them. And there's been huge movements in the market surrounding Bruno Fernandes, by the way. I think sort of like 12-13% growth in his share price in the last few days. So if you are getting involved and you want to do this, look at Bruno Fernandes as an option within that. I'm going to get my other device out here and I'm going to go and check that story out that I was just talking to you about a moment ago when it comes to Bruno Fernandes. In fact, that's probably easier. I haven't actually searched his name this morning. There's probably new headlines and different headlines. Like I'm seeing this one here. There's loads here. The Daily Express this morning. So this is the same newspaper. Is this fact? Beast X is what fact? Please tell me what. I've said a lot of things. Give me an idea. So look, literally, this headline this morning here is talking about Bruno Fernandes in tears on the pitch as United target hints he is leaving Sporting Lisbon. And we know all of this, but that isn't the story that I want to focus on. I want to try and find the story from last night. I'm going to put Bruno Fernandes and then truth. I need to find that story. What I should have done is bookmarked it. That would have made a lot more sense, wouldn't it? Here we go. So this is from 5 hours ago. It says, the truth behind Man United medical for Bruno Fernandes revealed amid transfer talk. Billy T here says the media are clutching at straws. And that's what we're here for, really. That's what we're here to do is to give you the opportunity to debunk and throw rebuttals out at what the media here is saying. And this is the story from last night. Same newspaper, I will add. Jack Otwell is the journalist on this. Jack Otwell is actually going to be appearing on our podcast when it starts in the next month as well. And I'm really looking forward to getting some of these journalists on. And I'll let you know in advance who's coming on, so you guys can pose questions that you want to put forward. It says here that Man United target Bruno Fernandes is not due for a medical at the club. Express Sport can reveal. Man United have been linked with a move for the for the Sporting Lisbon star all summer. Goes on to talk about the goals he scored. We don't need to touch on that. He says Man United boss Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants at least one midfield summer signing as compensation for the recent exits of Ander Herrera and Marouane Fellaini. More drivel. On Saturday, it was reported that Fernandes was due to fly to England for a medical, but Express Sports has learned that this isn't the case. Now, I don't mean any disrespect. I mean, this article was published at midnight today, Monday. That was after he played in his friendly. So I don't know whether they were literally informed or whether they just watched the friendly and they realised from there. But there we go. Goes on to say, what else does it go on to say? Sorry, I've clicked on an advert and it's taken me off the page. Medical, but United are yet to agree a fee for the Portuguese international and remain to be seen whether they'll get it done before the 8th of August deadline. Foreign media outlets have also tipped United to pursue a deal for Lazio's Milinkovic-Savic. And this is the interesting thing as well, the amount of stories again around this that are just circulating. So the Milinkovic-Savic one is still there, Bruno Fernandes is still there. There are now media outlets telling us that these deals will only go through if Paul Pogba is sold. And I suppose, look, they could just be clutching at straws there, as Billy T has said. If we try and be fair and balanced, maybe that's why United haven't closed these deals, because they're provisions for if Paul Pogba leaves. That would make sense, and they wouldn't make that public to us. That would be frustrating, but it would also make sense as to why haven't we closed these deals? Because we're not closing them unless Pogba leaves. And I know a lot of Man United fans are in this mindset of, we make so much money, £590 million turnover, huge revenues, let's just spend before we receive money. And I understand that. I understand that when it comes to a Lukaku replacement. I understand that in the centre-back areas. When it comes to midfield, there's only a certain amount of players that can be on the pitch at the same time. And if you're signing people that are there to replace Pogba, but Paul Pogba's still there, it creates, for me, a very unhealthy dynamic. But there we go. Someone said, Kimson says updates on Savic. Pretty much just gave it there, my friend. Carl Wilson says the Glazers will sell in 5 years and we will be in a shambles. Yeah, look, I think that's why it's important to get behind Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, why it's important to get behind the team, because the club isn't being run well at all, at the highest level. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is on a ship with holes in, a lack of personnel, there's damage everywhere, and he's keeping the sinking ship afloat and doing everything in his power to keep Man United moving in that right direction until better owners come in. And there are going to be times where he will frustrate Man United fans because he won't say what you truly, deeply want him to. But it's important for him not to do that, because when you're a leader of any kind of team, when you're the leader of anything that people care about, sometimes showing dissatisfaction in your bosses sows seeds of doubt into the players, which can lead to poor performances. For instance, a manager telling the press that they're not strong enough to challenge at any level because they haven't signed the right players. The seed of doubt that plays into the mind of your players around which ones of us is he referring to, why doesn't he think we're good enough. Equally, it gives them a different type of seed of an excuse. So for them, it can take away a bit of an elite edge. It can also undermine them and people can lose faith in the manager in the dressing room because they think, oh, you don't really want us. So there are times where the managers have to say things for PR purposes. There are other times they have to say things to keep their powder dry and keep themselves in a safe position job-wise. But at the same time, internally, as they build up their own sort of, they deepen their relationship with the owners and they build up their own sort of standing at the club, they can chip away more and more. And Fergie did that. Fergie had so much control and power at the club. He managed during the Glazer era to still be successful. And of course we weren't competing with City and a revived Liverpool and a really good Tottenham at the time. I understand that. And I want the Glazers gone like everybody else. But I think the people that we need to be on the side of all during this fight against the Glazers are the players and the manager. What makes no sense is to hate on the Glazers, but then equally to take out all your anger on the players and team as well, because actually they're on your side, in my viewpoint. But there we go. Let's do some more of your comments here. The thought of playing with Jones, Matic and Young moved Bruno to tears yesterday is what Stormtrooper says. Man United are skint. Your owners have milked your club dry. When are you going to smell the coffee? They're bleeding you dry. Listen, PDK, I know they're taking too much money out of the club. I wouldn't say United is skint. I think that's a complete exaggeration and a bit disingenuous, but they're not running the club well enough. And people always point out, well, they've spent here and they've spent there. The embarrassing point surrounding the Glazers has not been their inability to spend all the time. It's the fact that there's been many, many moments where they've purchased the wrong people and placed the wrong managers in, and they've pulled the rug from under people's feet at the wrong time. It's really not good. Mateus asking for a recap there. We will do that for you. So we're here talking about the Bruno Fernandes situation. Big headlines last night that there was no medical scheduled, that there was the truth behind this supposed medical. There's no medical schedule. There's been no fee agreed between Sporting Lisbon and Manchester United. Wanted your viewpoints on that story. Equally, pictures and video footage of Bruno Fernandes crying his eyes out, bawling after and I'm not talking about bawling like kicking a ball. Where I'm from, bawling means crying, just in case anyone's wondering, right? Crying his eyes out after the Sporting Lisbon game. And what I want is your viewpoints and opinions on that. Why do you think he was crying? Is there anything behind it? Does anybody, and I'm asking you this question, does anybody know any other reason, something that's not out there in the media or the wide mainstream media, something I'm unaware of as to why he could be crying? Because for me, and I'm not standing here for a single second saying that it's a guarantee that he's joining Man United, but the point I would make to you is players tend to only cry after games if they're leaving. So he's crying because Ed Woodward can't get the deal done. That would also make some sense as well, if it was true. Maybe that United gets Savic and Fernandes goes to Napoli. Maybe, look, anything like that could happen, and it's one of those things. I mean, it'd be crazy today if Bruno Fernandes transfer was announced and he goes to Everton. Something like that. Morning, Wilson. How are you, my friend? Leo says he heard Arsenal made a bid for him. No, look, come on, you wouldn't cry going to Arsenal. Terry, what if he's crying because he's sad because he has to continue playing for Sporting? Yeah. I get your point. It's a good question, but no. Bruno Fernandes he likes Sporting Lisbon. He spoke so open and he spoke so openly and so proudly of what he achieved there, the way the fans make him feel. But that's why he's crying, because although he's moving on to a club, and it might not be Man United, that's going to further his career, he still has that affinity and that emotional connection to those fans. I feel more worried than happy that he was crying is what Vince Chapman says. I get that. Callum here says, I believe the hurdles were the asking price for Maguire and Hernandez, so we won't turn away, just try to negotiate them down slightly or up our bid. Yeah, either one. The thing, what I would point out to people is this. A lot of people are getting on Man United's back, and of course with Arsenal close to signing Pepe, there's this outrage. Arsenal are going to outspend us. They've bought a big player. We haven't yet. Well, we have. We bought Aaron Wan-Bissaka. That's a big player. Equally, it's taken Arsenal all this time, and they've just got like 2, maybe nearly 3 in a row done very, very quickly. Man United could do the same thing this week and temper and kind of release the pressure valve on everything going on. If they do announce, let's just say a midfielder, I'm not going to point out any names, and Maguire this week, not all will be forgiven, but there'll suddenly be this huge release of pressure, and I actually then believe people will be excited about the start of the season. But I also totally back people that are going to be angry if nobody's doing it. Clayton, thank you very much for pointing it out there. Yeah, if everybody tuning in could hit that like button for us, that would be absolutely amazing. I'm going to do one more comment, and then I do need to go to the airport. This is from Wilson, who says, do you think that Man United missed the boat by not signing Pepe? That's a really good question. I saw Flex yesterday who tweeted that he was really annoyed or upset, one of the two. I don't want to misquote him, but basically frustrated that Man United didn't go in for Pepe, and that's a big miss. Everybody knows I rate Pepe. I rated him when I thought he was going to Liverpool. I rated him when there was Man United links to him, and I rated him when he was now he's linked to Arsenal. I think he's a top player. There's absolutely no doubt about that in my mind at all. I do have a super chat I'm going to do as well in a moment. Sorry. Why Man United not in for him? I think there's a huge possibility that next summer Man United are going to go after Jadon Sancho. That's one thing. There's also the development of Chongi and Greenwood. There's also the fact that Martial is going to be moved more centrally, meaning that Rashford's going to go out there. Dan James is also going to play a part on the wings as well. So I think that United already have options there, and they're focusing more on trying to fill more vulnerable positions than that. But that theory only comes to fruition if United sign their centre back and their midfield holes. If they don't sign any of them and they had the opportunity to get Pepe, it's a big play and miss, no doubt at all. Comment here says, I strongly believe Glazers don't trust Ollie with cash. Then let's just say I will answer that. Let's just say they don't trust Ollie with the cash. Why give him the job as manager? They did the same thing with Jose, and there was loads of problems with Jose. But instead of just getting rid and installing somebody who they do trust, they keep them in place. That's what I'm talking about by the club being run abysmally. Like last year, when everybody was blaming Jose, and I blamed him for some things he did, but the buck stopped with Woodward and the owners because they kept him in power during that turbulent, toxic time. And if what you're saying is true, by the way, I don't think Ollie is not trusted. But if he is, then again, the anger shouldn't be at Ollie for not being good enough. The anger should never be at Ollie. It should be at the people keeping him in power. You should be going to the root cause of problems, and it's them. Listen, I appreciate everybody tuning in this morning. I will be back with more content for you later on today once I land in good old Dublin. See you guys later. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.